Fantastic. Is it okay with you if I tape our conversation?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, of course.
Because you've never had that done
No,
before.
I want you to remember everything I say. Don't bother to type it out or write it out. Of course.
You obviously don't know my strengths. That's not one of them.
Mine either. I send people emails and I type everything in all caps. Everybody thinks I'm yelling at them when I write them.
Even when you're saying "Have a great day."
Have a great day, but it's said with a lot of force,
Emotion.
a lot of authority. I hate all the punctuation. I'll put a period in, but everything else is going to be full caps.
Well, first of all, congratulations are in order. Just inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's been a big month, to say the least, and I hardly wait to see what next month brings.
Well, where does this rank when you think about your lifetime of accomplishments?
Well, the Hall of Fame, I think, it's like I said that night for my acceptance speech. I said, artists come and go. I don't care who you are. You come and you go. Music comes and goes. But the Hall of Fame is forever. And I think that's something really exciting because I have identical twin boys that are 9 years old now. And I took them with me up there. And I don't know that they fully got the scope of it, but I think they saw that it was a pretty big deal. And I think as they get older, they'll really be able to appreciate it.
Do you find that people are more interested in the Kenny Rogers that they're familiar with, or with the Kenny Rogers who's here now and where he's going in the future?
I don't know. I never thought about that. I think that the future is so hard to predict. I mean, I'm up for a Grammy for a song I did with Dolly called "You Can't Make Old Friends," but California's a long way to go for rejection. So I don't know whether I'm not going to go unless Dolly goes. If I'm going to be rejected, I want her by my side.
So when people stop you and talk about music, about your career, about what you're doing now, is there always talk still about, well, that's my favorite song, or do you remember when you came here and sang for this group?
Oh, I get that every night. And literally, people will say, I have my boys, I told you I have identical twins that are 9 years old, and they took their first drum lesson the other day, and their teacher sent me an email that said, the first concert I ever went to was your concert in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I thought that was so cool, And I have people every night that will say, yours was the first concert I ever went to. And in the show, I tell people that I'm convinced that my audience consists of two groups of people now. People born since 1980 whose parents forced them to listen to my music as child abuse, and people born before the 60s who can no longer remember the 60s. So whichever group you want to be in.
Well, you mentioned the duet that you have with Dolly that will be up for the Grammy Award. This will be the third. But is it...
With us, yeah. I have 3 Grammys. Dolly and I have been... This is our third... what do you call it? Where we were nominated. Third nomination. Right.
Is there ever a point where this just becomes old hat, or is it always exciting every time?
Well, it's always exciting because of the unknown, and I think that also, the older you get, and the further away from your big success you get, the more interesting these things become. Because after a while, what you're doing is you're trying for history, and I think that's what happens with me now at this point. Our last album just came on at number 9 or number 8 or somewhere, and it was my 23rd top 10 album, and that's history. So you strive for those things because I can only compete in music in one of 2 ways. I can do what everybody else is doing and do it better, and I don't like my chances of that. Or I can do something different that nobody else is doing, and you don't invite comparison. And that's where I think my strength is.
Well, it seems like you've dipped your expertise into so many different things right now. It's not just music, but it's the Lifetime Achievement Award, TV specials, the Honorary Masters of Photography, a novel, a book, a new album. Is this what you pictured life would be like when you started in the music industry?
I'll do anything to get away from those two boys. No, I think that I have a new category for any of the local psychiatrists around there. It's called impulsive obsessive. I impulsively get involved with something, and then I get obsessed with it. I want to see just how good can I be. So I approach it from a standpoint of I hire someone who's the best I know to teach me what they know, and then I think, like in my photography, I hired the guy John Sexton, who was Ansel Adams' assistant for 4 years, to come to my house and teach me how to print and develop my own negatives and film, and that was 25, 30 years ago. And so, and with tennis, I did the same thing. I started when I was 35, and I hired a tennis player and took him with me everywhere. And we played so much. We played 8 hours a day, and I developed a national ranking in doubles because I just wanted to see how good I could get at it.
Is there ever a limit? Is there going to be a point where you say, that's it, I've learned what I want to learn?
Well, I think that, first of all, success is no reason to quit. And secondly, the only thing that limits me now is my physical ability. I have a bad knee, and it's difficult. Like in photography, you're always better shooting up on your object than shooting down because it gives the object more strength if you're looking up on it, like waterfalls. And I just can't get down there anymore. So I think my next book after this one is going to be called Photography from my car. I'm going to take shots from my car window.
Well, everybody is just fascinated with the history of where you started and where you are now. Can you talk a little bit about what's changed in the music industry over the decades, what you've seen adapt or just become the way it is today?
Yeah, and I think in some cases it's good, and in some cases it's not good. I think the difference is when I was coming up, the buyer had to buy 10 songs to get the one they wanted, and now they can download the one they want, and that's good for the buyer. But the problem is it has nothing to do with the money for the artist, but the buyer doesn't really get to know the artist, doesn't know what type of music they like, what else there is out there beside the one record that's on the radio. So I think it's more of a kind of American Idol mentality that people find someone they think can be number one, and they do everything they can to get them up there. And then the next year it's, okay, who's next? Who can we push up there now? So it's always been my opinion that the faster you go up, the faster you come down. And there are very few exceptions to that.
Well, you're coming to Southeast Iowa next week with your Christmas tour. What are fans going to expect when they go in?
Well, I'm doing something kind of unique for the last 10. This is my 32nd year of doing a Christmas tour. But what we're doing is the first half of the show is hits. I do all the hits you expect me to do. And then we take a little intermission, and Linda Davis is out with me this year. She used to be out with me a few years ago. And I don't know if you know Linda Davis, but Hillary from Lady Antebellum is Linda's daughter. And so it's really cool to have Linda back out with us because she sings so great, and she's such a good friend. In the second half of the show, we do all Christmas music, and we have 5 or 6 local kids that come out to really make it feel like Christmas. And then we have a local choir, and we've had as few as 12 and as many as 30, and they're always great choirs. And I tell them each night, I said, Linda and I can go out and do all the Christmas music we want to do, but it's really not Christmas till the choir sings. And I believe that. I think there's a majesty there that you can't get without numbers.
Is there anything that you do differently when you do a show in a rural community like ours than you would do in a packed-out stadium or on a TV show.
No, I think that you have to have consistency, and I don't know of any reason why I would change it coming there. I mean, I do what I do. First of all, my hits are not going to change. I've got some new songs from a new album that I've started doing one or two of in the show just to get a feel for them and what the audience response is. But all in all, it's basically, I am who I am, and I think I've always said the people that last in this business are the people who say they are. If you look at Dolly, if you look at people like Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard and George Jones, they are who they said they were, and that's why they lasted for so long.
Is there any difference in fans that you would meet in a large arena or a small town?
Well, usually in a large arena there's more young people, and small venues are primarily older but deeper fans, people who've known you for years and know your music. And I think they're both great. The young kids add a certain excitement to it, and the older people add a stability to it. I'm convinced that my audience falls into one of two categories now. Born since 1980, whose parents made them listen to my music as child abuse, and are born before the 60s but can no longer remember the 60s. So those are my two groups of people.
So at the end of the night next week after your concert, what do you want fans to walk away with?
I say this occasionally, that it's not important that one person leave there saying, he's the best singer I have ever heard, but it's important that everyone there walk away saying, I enjoyed that. That's really all I ask.
The basics.
The basics, yeah, because you're paying for something, and you're taking a night of your life, and especially this close to Christmas. I want them to leave saying that was worth it to me. I'm glad I did that. I would do it again next year if I had a choice.
So, at the end of the day, are you happy about where your career is at this point, or is there always something more that you're striving for?
Well, I think, you strive more to maintain. I think it's unrealistic of me at 75 to think I'm going to come in and be the new guy again. I just don't believe that. But I do think I can have songs that keep my name alive and keep the legend alive, and I think that's what you strive for at this point.
Well, those were the questions that I had. Was there anything else you wanted to add that we didn't talk about?
No, other than I appreciate talking to you, and hopefully if you'll get a chance, you'll come say hello when we're in town. And more importantly, if you do, I hope when you leave, you say, I enjoyed that.
Oh, it would be my pleasure.
Thanks, Laura. I'll talk to you when we get there then. Thanks.
Sounds great. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.